Good evening. New York State lawmakers will head back to the Capitol on Thursday for a special session to talk about giving themselves a pay raise with just days left in the calendar year.
Yeah, it's a proposal Capital Region lawmakers tell CBS 6 is being pushed by downstate lawmakers right now. New York City council members make upwards of $150,000 salaries, more than state lawmakers. CBS 6's Emma Quinn joining us live from outside the Capitol tonight. Emma, are lawmakers telling you, what are they telling you, I should say, ahead of Thursday's special session?
And the Assembly is proposing a $20,000 raise. Meanwhile, the state Senate just drafted legislation last night asking for a $32,000 raise. Now, either way, if passed, the New York State legislature would become the highest paid in the country. New York State lawmakers are heading back to the Capitol mere days before Christmas for a special session to discuss a pay raise. Capital Region lawmakers from both parties sounding off.
This is not something I am seeking, but I understand what is driving this.
I thought I've seen everything, but I'm going to tell you what, I believe this is just the beginning of maybe the craziest session I've seen.
Monday night, Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins released a draft proposal for the pay raise, although the Assembly has yet to make any decisions. Democrat Pat Fahey says she wants more than a paycheck to be discussed after bipartisan calls in recent months to convene a special session to address crime have gone unanswered.
I personally think it would have helped to address some of the issues that the voters care about. Right now on their minds, it's inflation, it's the cost of living, and it's quality of life. And quality of life is that there is more that we can do on domestic violence. There's more that we can do on guns.
Assemblyman Chris Tague from Schoharie County says a pay raise is the last thing on New Yorkers' minds. And if lawmakers are coming for a special session, they should be discussing issues that matter to New Yorkers.
Let's fix the inflationary problems that we have across the state. We have people right now, ordinary, everyday New Yorkers, that are struggling to put fuel in their vehicles to be able to get to and from work.
In proposed Senate legislation, there is a limit on outside income that lawmakers can earn. That is with the exception of those serving in the armed services or National Guard. Now, when asked earlier this month, the governor said she supported the pay raise, but added it's not her decision to make. That's because under New York State Constitution, lawmaker's salary is set by law, meaning if they want a pay raise, they have to vote for it. Live in Albany tonight, Emma Quinn, CBS 6 News.
But first, will state lawmakers hold a special session to vote on a potential pay raise for themselves? It's a question that at this point does not have a solid answer.
Yeah, today the Assembly Majority Conference held a virtual private meeting to discuss this and other hot button issues that could be tackled during such a session. CBS 6's Brianna Sapardi joins us. She's live in Albany tonight. Bree, what was discussed in the meeting?
Good evening, Liz and JT. This meeting was closed off to the public, so we don't have any specific details concerning what was on the agenda. However, sources close to the legislature tell me there's a lot at play, including potential pay raises and public safety issues. As the clock ticks closer to the new year, we could possibly see New York State lawmakers return to Albany for a special session. The Assembly Majority Conference met privately Monday, with the Democrats reportedly discussing several key issues, including potential pay raises. Local lawmakers tell CBS 6 the push for these raises is mostly coming down from those who live and represent downstate districts in New York City. Right now, state lawmakers earn $110,000 a year. A raise of $20,000 would make them the highest paid legislators in the country. But if a special session were to happen, a pay raise wouldn't be the only issue discussed.
If there is going to be this continued talk of coming back, I think we need to listen to what the voters had to say in this past election, and they care about a lot of things. They care about cost of living. They care about some inflation issues. They care about crime or public safety. I think the domestic violence issues have got to be addressed, given some of the really egregious cases. And we're seeing some loopholes where domestic violence incidences where the perpetrator or the offender was put right back out on the street. There's a lot in play. Nothing is final. I'm hoping that we will know more later this week.
She and other members say it's currently a very fluid situation, with the chances of them returning for a special session still 50-50. Republican Assembly members have been outspoken against the pay raises, including Assemblyman Chris Tague, who calls the idea, quote, ludicrous. He adds in a statement that, quote, people are struggling to heat their homes, put gas in their cars, and give gifts for their families on Christmas. Here we are at the end of the clock, and we're going to have a special session for legislative pay raises. It's really a shame. According to state law, if pay raises aren't enacted by the end of the year, lawmakers wouldn't be able to get a raise until 2025. Again, a decision has not yet been made on whether the Assembly majority will move forward and hold a special session. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates once they become available. Reporting live in Albany, Brianna Supardi, CBS 6 News.
How would you like a $32,000 raise? And here's the kicker, you can give it to yourself. And oh yeah, it'll be your second $30,000 plus raise in 4 years. That is what your members of the Assembly and Senate are considering right now, a 56% pay hike, going from $79,500 to $110,000, and now possibly to a staggering $142,000 over the course of just a few years. So you would think they'd be willing to work for that raise. Well, think again. I've told you about woeful legislative hearing attendance before. You are looking right now at an Assembly hearing in Albany today on Veterans Affairs. There are 19 members of the Veterans Affairs Committee. Less than a third of them bothered to show up today to hear about the needs of veterans. 5 of them were there. 5 of 19. That is 26%. 26% attendance, and they want another huge raise. I spoke to Senator Sue Serino today. She has fought pay raises for years. What do you think about this push to get this pay raise done and get it done quickly?
You know, it's so typical Albany, right, Greg? You're used to this. All these things happen behind closed doors without public input.
Woeful attendance today at an Assembly hearing right before they're about to ask for a pay raise. Is that the way to ask for a pay raise, by not showing up for work?
But it's very typical, right? A lot of them don't show up, and it's just such a shame. And a lot of the public doesn't realize what happens.
Serino introduced a bill that would force legislative pay raises to go to the public for a vote. That bill has gone nowhere.
Right now, a bill is on its way to Governor Kathy Hochul to increase New York State lawmakers' pay from $110,000 to $142,000. Today, the bill passed in the Senate 33-23 and then 81-52 in the Assembly. Now it is up to Hochul, who, if she signs this bill, would make the New York State legislature the highest paid in the country. We go to Tom Eschen at the Capitol for more.
Debates in the Senate and Assembly lasted a couple of hours today. We heard about $9 heads of lettuce. We heard about the Grinch stuffing coal down chimneys, but none of that worked for people that did not support this pay raise. The bill passed. $32,000 more now for the legislators. So now we look into how this raise might impact the people you'll be voting for in the future. Now that a pay raise has passed, voters and legislators want their representatives to start showing up.
And I saw your news channel, which I commend, did a segment on people not showing up to hearings. I hope the hell they all start showing up to hearings and committee meetings.
With pay getting higher, the expectations are also raised for supporters of the bill, keeping talent in the Assembly and away from the competitive New York City Council, a reason why to pay more.
I'm sympathetic to those who are downstate, grappling with many different issues and leaving the body as a result.
But with the pay increase comes the limit on outside pay. As in the future, the majority of outside income cannot be more than $35,000. Governor Kathy Hochul said the limits on outside income promote transparency and accountability. Some good government groups even wanted more of a restriction. Legislators say it'll stifle the pool of candidates.
And when you start putting restrictions on the outside income, what you're going for is you're going to end up with professional politicians who start out young when it's a good salary for them, or people who are retired.
Here's 6 months, and yes, for guys like me, we do work another 6 months because we have constituents that keep us very active and have concerns. But others have some jobs, and they serve the public.
And there are full-time legislators on both sides of the aisle who say their one job is to do just that, serve the public.
Because when I ran for this job, I knew what it paid, and I knew what the consequences were. This is public service, my God. If you're coming here to get rich, then you're in the wrong business.
Reporting from the Capitol, Tom Eschen, CBS 6 News.
Good evening. New York State lawmakers are still waiting to learn whether or not they're getting a massive 29% raise in 2023. Governor Kathy Hochul, who previously said she supported the pay raise, has yet to sign the bill. In the meantime, CBS 6 has been looking into how this raise and six-figure salary stacks up to lawmaker wages in other states and the pay raises the rest of us have been getting. Jackie Slater reports.
63 state senators, 150 assembly members. Right now, that adds up to an annual payroll just shy of $23.5 million for New York state legislators. But if Governor Hochul signs that $32,000 pay raise bill sitting on her desk, that annual payroll jumps to just over $30 million a year when lawmakers return here to the Capitol next week for the start of the 2023 session. Each of them will be bringing in a base salary of $142,000 a year, plus a per diem. If we compare that to our neighboring states, our lawmakers' salaries are significantly higher than all of them. Right now, Connecticut lawmakers get $28,000, no per diem. New Jersey legislators get $49,000 a year with no per diem. Both of these states are designated as hybrid legislatures by the National Conference of State Legislatures, meaning lawmakers devote 74% of a full-time job's time to their duties. Pay is slightly better in Massachusetts, where they get a little more than $70,000, plus an office stipend between $17,000 and $22,000 a year. Pennsylvania is the most comparable, with legislators in the Keystone State making upwards of $95,000 with a per diem right around $180 a day. Both of these states, as well as New York, are considered full-time legislatures. We've been following this pay raise for weeks now. We've spoken with legislators who are for it, including Assemblymember Patricia Fahey, who said she supports it because she's sympathetic to the needs of her colleagues that have a higher cost of living to support in New York City.
It's not something I sought. It's not something I need. I'm grateful I live in a very lower cost, affordable area here in Albany.
We also talked to people who voted against it. Assemblymember Phil Steck saying he's opposed to the $35,000 cap on outside income that comes with a raise.
I do not think that it is wise to do this.
No matter how you spin it, 29% is big for a one-time jump. According to salary.com, raises in the U.S. are going up. They had been at 3% for several years. This year, they averaged 4%, and they're expected to stay at 4% in 2023. But what about the people in these offices? State workers who will watch legislators working across the street get that 29% bump come January 1st. Well, according to the state comptroller's office, some are looking what has been the standard for years now, a 2% cost of living increase. Some could get additional bonuses or bumps through union agreements, and for others, additional raises would have to be requested in legislation and approved by the legislature. In Albany, Jackie Slater, CBS 6 News.